how do I want to engage with the world, knowing more fully who I am, kind of like in alignment with actions in the world. And this particular practice I'm going to share today um, about the heart of the warrior has been really powerful for me lately because of the challenge at the various levels of challenge in these times. It's been really personally impactful to me. And yeah, just excited to get to offer it today. So this is just one, of course, one way to practice meditation. I'm happy to hear that folks have experience on the call. So before we start, just know that there's not actually any specific outcome we're trying to get to here. This is not about doing it a certain way. My encouragement is to be open, have your awareness open, be gentle and kind to yourself, listen to your body and your own needs as we're exploring this meditation today. So go ahead and just bring yourself into whatever position is going to assist you in this meditation. If it's feeling like you want to be upright for this, sometimes that can assist us in cultivating a warrior energy, but it's not required. Sometimes when we are really listening to the body, what's needed is to be supported in another way. So we'll begin this experience by letting the moment be exactly as it is. Body sensations might be here, different thoughts or emotions present or moving through. And let all of that be exactly as it is. Most of us are deeply conditioned or trained to want to change or adjust or improve our experience in certain ways. And right now, the invitation is to simply be a compassionate witness for your experience. Be with the content, those thoughts, emotions, sensations of your experience. In this practice, we are accessing or inviting forward our inner warrior. And this is a peaceful, loving, strong warrior. It's the part of ourself that can meet any experience, can withstand any experience, can sit and breathe through any experience. So by this act of simply allowing our experience to be what it is and meeting it as it is, we're remembering our resilience. If you are experiencing some discomfort today in any way, it's a great day to practice the heart of the warrior. What a great opportunity to remind yourself that your experience is temporary, as all experience is, that you will move through it, that you can breathe through it. And if you're feeling fairly at ease today, it's a great day to practice the heart of the warrior. One of the powers of a meditation practice is cultivating this ability, this courage to show up again and again, to be with the moment. And we practice on the easier days so that we can remember our resilience on the difficult days. The heart of the warrior is a compassionate heart. So as we sit right now, we're not actually trying to push anything away. We're not trying to clear away any aspect of our experience. We're, in a sense, welcoming all aspects of our experience. Where the space that holds experience, unthreatened by experience. So that's the practice, breathing and being with the moment. In some moments, this practice can feel a little bit nebulous or vague. One simple way to practice is to focus on body sensation and become aware of any urge to adjust your position. Could be there's like a tightness, or you just want to shift a little bit to be a little bit more comfortable, or an itch, and you know that you'll feel so much better if you just scratch the itch. And the way to get in touch with this heart of the warrior is to be open to that experience and not actually react. To sit with the experience of slight discomfort in the body or that itch. It's almost like we're training a muscle. It's like, no, I can actually be with this. I don't have to react to this. I can choose how I want to respond to this particular situation. It's also important to name that, in my experience, there's a danger of being too much of a disciplinarian about this. So if your body is in extreme discomfort, it's certainly not compassionate to push yourself through that. So I'm not suggesting that you should never change your experience when you're practicing meditation. Another way to engage with it is, let's say you have a really strong urge to move or itch or do something. Just wait a little while. Be with that experience before you habitually react. The breath is a powerful ally in this practice. Returning our attention to the breath and breathing through whatever experience is in front of us. When in doubt or when there's a struggle, returning to the breath. So perhaps in this moment or in another moment when you're meditating, you in fact don't feel like a warrior at all, then you're scratching all your itches, moving all over the place, indulging your thoughts. That's actually not a problem. And the beautiful opportunity there is to be with that experience. How can you be fully with the experience of not feeling strong or courageous or resilient? So this is the practice of the heart of the warrior. This is the training. And we're training ourselves in meditation in our homes or on our cushion or on our chair, so that when we get up and move into the world, we can bring our resilience and our courage with us. And the world is very hungry today for our resilience and our courage. It's really needed for the very important social activism going on in the world. It's really needed to stand up to racism, to effectively challenge these oppressive systems, to protect and uplift those who are the most vulnerable. And so just taking a few more breaths here, and I'll ring the bell, and that'll be the end of the meditation. So, yeah, just taking a moment to come back into your space, come back into your body. Maybe you want to stretch and move or scratch any itches. And we've got about 15 minutes remaining in this hour, and my intention was just to open it up to this could be Q&A or just a group discussion, particularly if anyone on this call would like to share your experience with that meditation or with meditation practice in general around this idea of cultivating courage or being with our experience. Yeah, or if you just have your own thoughts to share around like, what works for you to tap into this heart of the warrior? I'd love to just open it up, and if you've got a question or something to share, you can, let's see, I suppose you could just raise your hand and I'll call on you, and or you could put it in, if you've got a question, you can type it in the chat box too. Oh yes, Joyce.
So I always feel very courageous when I'm sitting, but then I have such a hard time bringing presence, courage, whatever, out into the world. I tend to just freeze. I have a very well-developed fight or flight response and fight or flight or freeze, and I tend to freeze. So do you have any tips on, just how you can do that transition better from the cushion to the real world?
Yeah, great question. And that's like the crux of this, right? It's like, okay, we can.
Totally. I should be getting it by now, but
No, I mean, what a beautiful, like, lifelong practice that is, like, actually having that courage in the moments when we need it.
Right.
So I'm hearing that it sounds like freeze is a common response for you. If I could just ask like a little bit more, like what happened, give me an example, or like what happens right as you're about to do a freeze, or like.
Well, like if somebody says something, like in the current situation, maybe I'm talking to somebody and they say something about race or whatever is going on. I don't often have the courage to respond. I just kind of shut up and go, or whatever. It's just, I have a real hard time speaking up about things like that. So that's a good example where I just kind of freeze and, turn into my little shell instead of coming out and speaking up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite common, and if you know the book White Fragility, like that's just like a really common thing for white folks to be suddenly very quiet in conversations about race, or even not acting up in a moment where you could be standing up for.
Well, especially if you're talking to people who are racist, or where it would be a confrontation.
Mm-hmm. So what have you found anything that helps you like access courage in those moments, or have you ever like tried to speak up, or because this is my experience is like everyone has their own things that they can like particularly draw on in those moments, but can you name for yourself any times that you have on that courage?
Yeah, it happens sometimes, but in specific examples I'm thinking of, I often get shot down. So that's, negative reinforcement for doing it again. So I don't have anything that works on a consistent basis, except maybe like Janice, you guys know my daughter Janice, some of you do, some of you don't. She always says, just try and think of coming from a place of love. And if I can access that, that's very helpful. I just tend to freeze and just like my brain shuts off and I can't think of anything to say.
Yeah, I love that. The coming from a place of love. There's a course that I just finished with Peace in Schools, and it was an 8-week experience. I don't know if you've done that one, Joyce, but one of the assignments is it's like towards the end of the mindfulness course, and each person is to create like a visual expression of 3 reminders for yourself, or like in a moment of challenge, you've got these 3 reminders. And it just came to mind when you said like starting from love, like that could be something that's on like a post-it notes somewhere in the house, or maybe it's,
Oh,
you know, take a breath before you respond, or, you know, remembering that you're going to get through this, or something like that. Something about like the having it up, or having the repetition, for me is really helpful. Like I've got things on my above my desk, and
yeah.
they kind of stay in my consciousness. So when I'm in a challenging situation, like, oh my God, here's a situation where I have to go out on a limb here, or I have to confront somebody, it's almost like muscle memory in a way.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but it's just really, it's a really important topic right now, and it's really alive for me as well. And the another reason that I love this practice of mindfulness is we get to see like the activity of the ego in this, right? Like as I'm about to maybe say something or do something, and I get afraid or I freeze or whatever, I
Mhm.
can see like what is up with the ego right now. Like, am I afraid that I'm going to say something wrong? Am I afraid that I'm going to say something and then there's going to be a conflict and I'm going to be bruised in some way? And for me, it's helpful sometimes to remember, like, you know what, like, bring it on. Like, so what if my ego gets bruised? You know, like, it's fine. And actually, my true essence is like so much bigger and more resilient than like the ego that feels like it's, you know, mortally wounded when someone tells me I did the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank
It
you.
was such an energy. Anybody else have a comment about how this experience was for you in the meditation, or a question, or something you're working with in your practice right now? Yeah, Linnea.
Um, well, I realized in the midst of it that before all of this hit, I was supposed to be going to the Vipassana retreat today, and so this was kind of perfect because I've never done that before, but I've heard one of the big hard parts of it is the the I can't remember what it's called, but that complete stillness,
Mm,
um, and and then it also made me think about the um, I know some of the protests that have been happening, people take a knee or they get into a position or lie down with their hands up and or I mean with their hands behind their backs. And as I was imagining doing one of these things, I was thinking about how uncomfortable it's going to be. And then thinking about, well, that's just a small amount of discomfort in comparison, to living as a Black person in this country, and just the absolute discomfort there is leaving the house on a day-to-day basis or having your children leave the house.
mhm.
Anyway, so it was kind of perfect confluence of thoughts that I've been having already.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing that. Yeah, it's such a interesting thing to challenge that idea that we're supposed to be comfortable, or we have a right to
Mm-hmm.
be comfortable all the time. Very, very important in the work as you're describing.
Yeah.
um, I've heard privilege be described as like an addiction to privilege, or geez, an addiction to comfort. Um, and yeah, feeling that entitlement to comfort all the time.
Mhm.
So using meditation to challenge that, investigate that on a physical level, mental level, that's a cool starting place.
Yeah, I love that. It's a very like digestible way to understand privilege, and it's actually, it's like pretty cool if you learn like I can survive a lot. You know, like I can get through discomfort. I don't, like, great, I can appreciate comfort when it's here, but like I don't need it. You know, to like develop that in ourselves is really powerful. Um, yeah, there's a way that like challenge in life is, it's almost like you can see it as a training. You can see it as life being like, all right, here's this challenging situation. Like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with this? And we can use it as this way to like cultivate strength and like maybe wisdom out of the situation or resilience. It's yeah, super important for the world, I think. One other kind of concept that I'm particularly lit up about right now is kind of the myth that meditation practice is for an individual. That if you practice mindfulness, you practice meditation, then it's a way for you to de-stress, or for you to find happiness, or for you to feel calm, or for you to like improve your focus. And it totally can do all of those things. And that's such a limited view of the practice. Like I really feel like we're called to transform ourselves so that we can go transform the world. Like if we can embody mindfulness practice, like we must bring that out into the world and like make it a collective practice. There's a quote that I want to share that kind of relates to this topic from Maya Angelou. It says, "Develop enough courage that you can stand up for yourself, then stand up for somebody else." And I just really love that. And it's like, reminds me about this process of like courage and resilience. Like we're cultivating it here so that we can go out in the world and cultivate it in the world. So it's, yeah, been really lovely sharing this experience. Any final comments before we start to wrap up this webinar? Okay, I want to say one more thing before I pass it back to Alyssa, which is just a plug for the next couple of Thursdays. There are some amazing teachers doing webinars. So I believe next week is Dr. Sarah King. Is that right, Alyssa? And the week after that is Michelle Johnson. And I just could not recommend these two women highly enough. So just a big plug to tune back in if you can for those.